When much of the news these days is still centered on the nation's faltering economy, one sector here in Louisiana is booming. Last year, Louisiana farmers exported record levels of commodities. Joining us with this week's Bottom Line is Neil Melancon. And Neil, this certainly bodes well for Louisiana farmers, but it's also indicative of what's going on around the country. Tell us about that.
It is, Mike. It's part of a trend, of course, for higher exports across the board in the U.S. That dovetailed with two other bits of good news. A report out last week that showed the economy grew faster than expected in the fourth quarter of 2011. And now we're also a net exporter of gasoline. Louisiana is a big part of that trend, as both gas and ag products are big commodities for the state. Overall, Louisiana exports grew by exactly 1/3 over 2010, breaking the previous single-year record set back in 2008. The export total was about $55 billion compared to $41 billion for 2010. Rising prices for both oil and gas as well as farm commodities was the largest contributor to this increase. Petroleum and coal exports were up in value by 75% in 2011. Ag exports were up more than 14% in value, totaling $17.3 billion, almost as much as those energy commodities. The bottom line is, now that Louisiana is ranked 7th in export value and number 1 last year for rate of export growth, of course this has a lot to do with the soaring costs and commodities, but it also does play into our strengths as well. At a time when we have budget crunches at both the national and state levels, this is welcome news that will hopefully benefit us all long term, Mike.
Well, Neil, a lot of good numbers in there as far as the farm community is concerned, but consumers are paying upwards of $3.50 a gallon for gas at the pump right now, and that energy cost has got to be hitting farmers pretty soon as planters start to roll. What's it doing to producers out there right now?
Well, it's good and bad news for farmers. They're well aware of the issues caused by fluctuating gas prices, so they often buy their fuel well ahead of time. And this means farmers have been pretty insulated from this latest run-up in gas prices ahead of planting season. But the problem here is the timing. With prices this high and the summer driving season yet ahead of us, farmers are eventually going to have to buy fuel again, and right now there's just no relief in sight.
Well, Neil, I finally lived long enough to say I heard some pretty good news on the bottom line, and it's only March. Neil Melancon, thanks. And remember, you can listen to any of Neil's reports on the Louisiana Farm Bureau radio network. For a list of stations where you can listen or tune in online, visit our website at twilatv.org and click on the LFB radio link on the left side of the home page. That does it for this edition of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Next week, we'll bring you an encore presentation of our program focusing on the agriculture of South America. That's because we will be in the nation's capital with a group of Louisiana young farmers and ranchers. We'll bring you their stories from the nation's capital in 2 weeks. Until then, you can watch any of our stories online. Just visit our website, twilatv.org. For all of us here at This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope to see you again right here next week.